Hey everybody, welcome to week 3 of the economics course here. So you're entering the halfway point, so far so good. So got my scenery up here and a little bit of inspiration for the week. All of you are in well, you're in a 400 level course, so you've gotten way past the halfway point on your program, and so sometimes people focus more on, oh, how much more I have to do versus how much you've done. So I thought this was a pretty spiffy little quote here about focusing on how far you've come, not on how far you have to go. I got the runner guy down there, so not sure how much farther he had to go, but it looks like it's probably far away wherever it's going. So also, just on this again, it's never a question of can you do something, it's but will you do it. So, and I throw these things out here partly because I know sometimes some students have problems with life and other obligations and things that come up that kind of cause us to fall behind. But at the same time, this is a choice. This is something you want to do. It's something you're going to be glad you've done, and so therefore, you need to do it. So I'm just, and then there's some of you that you're in there, so good. Keep going. Don't deviate, and let's get in here to this upcoming week here. We got you got 3 chapters. There's week 3 here. So you got 3 chapters. You got 7, 8, and 9. 7 has to do with cost of production, and one of the, so we're talking about like in business, sometimes there's outrageous prices on products, and sometimes there's pretty good prices on products. But as a general rule, most companies, when you do a budget, and I know from my years in Domino's and learning all about, learning about business and everything, when people make a budget, you're wanting to try to budget for a 20% profit. That's a general rule. If you go into a bank to get a loan and you have a business plan and you have a budget, a proposed budget, and they look at that and you've got a projected profit of 5%, they're probably not going to approve you. Um, and and yet uh, sometimes in the past you may have heard news stories or people complaining about oil companies as an example. Oh wow, they made $1 billion in profit. But when you look at the percentage of that was probably 3% profit that company made. I'm not saying billion ain't a lot of money, but I'm saying if that was a company going to a bank to finance that company based on only making 3% profit, bankers probably wouldn't even look at them. Because when you're dealing with those numbers and they're so huge, if all of a sudden you didn't make X number of sales this month, well, you wouldn't have that $1 billion. And that's back on, some of you heard me say this before, like on the minimum wage argument about the $15 an hour thing, and I use Walmart as the example. There was a calculation done. If Walmart overnight decided to pay everybody $15 an hour, they would go out of business. Because the amount of the wages, the cost of the labor would exceed the profits, even though their profits are up there in the billion or whatever it is. But so that's just an example, and the cost, so when you talk about figuring out how much things cost and how much you got, I got this little Excel sheet here from back in my days, but you got all these different expenses or cost of doing things. Here you got the sales, but then you have to also get into the cost of different things. So you got all these different things that are cost. You can call it production cost depending on what how you want to do it. There's also oh, I got this example over here. Whoops, where'd it go? Oh yeah, right here. I use this as an example. I could use P, but this is an example here. What does it cost to make a product? So we use the burger. You got the bun, you got the mayo, you got the onion. All this stuff is broken down. Same thing if I was doing Domino's and pizza. It's broken down. Okay, there's 38 slices of pepperoni on a pizza. How much a pound for a pizza store to buy? A 10-pound bag of pepperoni. It costs X number of dollars. And how much is in a pound? 16 ounces. How much does 38 slices weigh? Or does that weigh you know, 5 ounces or whatever the case, and it gets broken down. Um, you know, like here they got ounce of lettuce or a slice of onion, so it's all broken down. You know, the burger is 8 ounces. The sauce, you know, sauce on a pizza might be 2 ounces or whatever it is, and you come up with a cost. Okay. Another example I can give. So I mean the pizza. So like back in the pizza days, you know, it would cost, you know, $2.10 to make a certain type of pizza, or if wings. Oh, the wings is the most expensive thing for pizza places. So the wings cost the pizza store, you know, $3 or $4 for like a 10-piece wing, and they sell it for $6. You know, that's one of what they call the highest food costs. You know, normally you want to make food costs like in third, you know, only 20% of what you're selling it for. So if you're selling a $10 food product, the most that you cost is $2 in theory. So another example would be okay, so I dabble in like one of my other sidelines is the book world. I'm in a organization, St. Louis Publishers Association. But anyway, so one thing about the book writing world is, for example, I was on a book signing event with somebody one time. It was me and him. You know, I had my book there, and we're selling, and then the guy I was with, he had a book there, and it was a nice hardback book, and they were selling it for 15. I think it was, yeah, $20, something like that. So anyway, one of the things when you work at a bookstore, um, if you're going to do a book signing, is the bookstore keeps 40% of the sale. All right. So in the case of this guy selling the book for $20, right, they were keeping $8. Okay. So that meant 12 that the author got. However, the cost to print that book from the printer location for him was $13. So he was actually losing money. And that's where, so I use that as an example of how to figure out what the cost is. So in that case, you know, he needed to figure out how much he needs to sell that book for in order to make money, not lose money. And so that's just another example I use. I mean, so, but anyway, all right. So let me see here. I had chapter 7. Okay, let me get back over here. So the chapter 7 anyway has to do with the cost, all right? And then chapter 8 and 9, okay, profit maximization. And then again, part of what I just mentioned had to do with, you know, maximizing, you know, using the pizza as example, or a food product, you sell it for 10, you wanted to cost 2, so that because you got all these other expenses you still have to pay for. You got to pay labor, you got to pay, be it delivery, the electric, the rent. So you got all these other things that was showing you on that P&L logo. You got all those other expenses. So that's how you have to figure out all that stuff. So and then here, then you also have the competition. You know, you got to figure out, well, what's the competition selling for, and how are they doing it? And so, I'll use the pizza world. Pizza, for the most part, the chains sell everything for about the same price. You never see any of them going drastically higher or drastically lower than the competitors, because if they did, somebody is going to have a problem. And if you go drastically low, you might lose money. You might not make a profit. So there's that part. So, okay. I think yep, I'm at 9 minutes here, so I've gone far enough. So anyway, so that's the thing of this week, though, is, you know, cost of production, figuring out, you know, how much to charge, or how much everything, you know, no matter what we're talking about. You know, if you're talking about a car, you know, you got so many thousands of parts in each, and if you worked in the car company, you'd see the spreadsheets and everything with, hey, each bolt cost, you know, a bolt cost 2 cents, and this cost a penny, and that cost $4.30, and you know, that's how they add it all up. And then they had to they figure out what the labor, you know, so many hours of labor, and even the machinery through robotics. Right? Okay, you got a machine doing this, but the machine is getting paid too, in a roundabout way, because on on the financials, those machines are being depreciated. There's an expense to it. It's broken out every month. Or you have what they call leases on them. So I mean, there's all these different variables that go into it. So, anyways, all right. So with that, I'm going to leave you. Quit right there. I'll do my test question for you. So just let me know. This guy right here, that's me. Just let me know what I was doing, and I'll leave it at that. So, all right, everybody. As always, any questions or anything, get in touch. Let me know, what you need, and I'll get back with you. And we'll call it quits there. Take care. Have a great week.